welcome. We have another spotlight on an expert here in VMworld 2016. This time, with my great pleasure, to introduce to you Paul Braren from TickerTry.com, who's like the god of HomeLabs. Paul, I want you to not be humble. Give people a lot of info about you. I want you to tell us how you ended up here in VMworld 2016. That could be just how from your work or from your hobbies you ended up here, and tell us about all of this that you brought with you.
That wasn't too much build-up there, was it? Oh my God. All right. Thanks to Corey Romero for getting here. Without a blogger class like that, it wouldn't have happened. And also thanks to Corey for this space, because it's a little expensive downstairs for anyone to show stuff, but the focus was on community and someone who, me, tries to write articles and do videos for the community for free, for years.
Yeah. So
it's awesome that a perk of getting to a conference like this as a blogger and as a V-expert, those are very nice perks.
They always are.
And just, again, wouldn't be here without it.
Right.
So you asked a little bit about what I'm showing today, and a lot of people this morning. Basically, Supermicro sent me a whole lot of stuff. So I step aside here. Am I still on camera? All right, so yeah, I've got a monitor, I've got a computer over there as the workstation. I've got an iPad logged in here showing the watts, but here's the servers and the various form factors. Now, behind this little tech card a little poster board tries to show off the highlights. So anything bolded is what's unique and different about Intel ZND. So this story, it's sort of about Supermicro. It's mostly about ZND. Supermicro just happens to have a form factor of a mini tower that's actually suitable for a home lab, meaning quieter, room for expansion, and one U's don't tend to be that quiet with the tiny little fan. So Supermicro has done a good job bundling a chassis around the ZND platform and letting you fully leverage in a home lab something you can leave running 24/7 because you're only at like 40 watts at idle. And I measured all that, and I have other charts back there. So my recent blog posts have been a lot of data about the servers because there's so many new ones that just came out, and I'll highlight those in a moment. The last feature there will be the ZND 1541 is this guy. That's been shipping since about February, and I bought mine. This is my own server right here back in April. The new news today, as of 5 hours ago or so, is the ZND 1567. The first time Supermicro has offered that. Still 2.1 gigahertz, 2.7 turbo. But what changed was, instead of this guy's 8 cores, it's now 12 cores. So this grew up a little. It'll look at exactly the same server, same bundle, same benefits of a bundle. But it's really nice that they're listening to the community a bit and coming out with some new part numbers that can help people get started with virtualization or advanced users.
Right.
So we have everywhere from 4 core up to 12 core.
And by the way, these are beautiful materials that you brought by yourself. I mean, you're not sponsored or anything, so it's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Tell us about the stuff that we have here.
Okay, so I'll start at the bottom as a 1U. So typically, someone who has a rack mount kit or a half rack in their basement or whatever, where they're probably not all that near the machine, that'd be a pretty good choice because now they have a full height PCI card down here. So you're taking the same 6.7-inch square system on a chip, which means a Xeon soldered onto the motherboard, and 2 1 gig and 2 10 gigs. So whatever I talk about is going to have at least 2 1 gig and 2 10 gigs. That's the secret special stuff compared to, say, an Intel NUC. A whole lot more capability. Intel NUC, you have one port, and an amazing GPU and fast Thunderbolt and Bluetooth and all the consumer stuff. Really cool machine if you're trying to do a little bit of light gaming and virtualization. But these other ones I'm going to show you actually start at a similar price point to the NUC. Alright, so back in the bottom, the 1U, that's 8 cores, just like this guy. It's like if you took this motherboard, put it in a 1U rack mount. Simple. Same interfaces, same everything. Just full height PCI instead of half height PCI. That would be the distinction there.
And I noticed this one has quite a few more NICs.
This one is NIC crazy here. We got a management port. They all have an IPMI management port, free. There is no licensing for remote, mounting an ISO, installing SSI. Yeah, that's built into these. 6 1 gig interfaces, as you just pointed out. So you're thinking firewall, pen tester, something edge of the network.
Especially as more people do NSX labs and they're trying LACPs or they're trying different things.
Yep. You got your physical ports right there, built in. And now it's a little weird. It's an SFP. So this is Supermicro's first SFP Plus module. So you got your 10 gig, but these cables aren't expensive anymore. You don't need fiber. You can get it for under $100. and that's my 10 gig link. There's actually 2 of them. All of them have 2 10 gig. I'm just showing one at the show here. Let's move over to the right. And finishing up, this does have a half-height PCI laying sideways. So that's the 4-core starter, and that's 600s for no RAM. I get the pricing right over there. So let's move over to the new little darling that's quite popular. This is the first in world E200. So you're looking at the first one shipped. Got my hands on it, and that's 6-core. What's nice there is vSAN. So imagine putting something like a Micron storage tier, which one is in there, and an NVMe drive for your cache. Yep. And think of your think of your speeds. Yeah. Basically, vSAN is the way you can think of it as NVMe, really fast storage, which is like over 4 times faster than any SSD. That's 2.5 inch. And you got a caching layer. It's basically
really opens up the path to having that supported vSAN configuration, because most people with NUCs are just doing like a consumer Samsung for NVMe and a consumer Samsung for storage, whereas Supermicro you can use an actual PCIe drive. So
exactly. So really good point that this tower's on the VMware compatibility list. Right after this, I'm trying to race down to Supermicro and get him to record that his intent is to get all the ZNDs on the VMware compatibility list.
Cool.
That's pretty important.
Yes, it is.
As you just said, the next step is imagine a vSAN, 3 of those maybe sold as a bundle with Micron, Samsung, Intel, doesn't really matter, someone who has a vSAN compatible storage that'll fit. Now that's been a challenge, 2280 versus 22110, which doesn't fit in all these boxes. So we're not quite there yet. I was hoping to have vSAN at the show. Micron and the other vendors weren't quite ready to pull that off yet.
Well, you are the bleeding edge of stuff, so.
Thank you, definitely, which I enjoy.
Obviously.
Okay, so yeah, that's the, let's see, the price point on that without RAM, $779, and then you fully deck it out with 128 gig of RAM, you're still under $1,500. So you can have one heck of a powerful small box that you can fly with 3 of them and easily fit in, carry-on luggage on a plane.
Exactly.
Now we get to a 10 gig switch, unfortunately $950 from Netgear. At this time, its fan is much quieter than anything else. I tried an Ubiquiti, had a louder fan and some issues that I'm still working with support on. So the jury's out on what's happening there. I imagine by Christmas, hopefully we have more choices and we're down under 500, I hope.
Yeah.
But I don't know. 10 gig is a little bleeding edge.
A lot of people are with that question, what is the best switch I can buy for 10 gig, right?
And that's all my measurements. I did a whole set of videos measuring each of these individually, decibels and watts on camera. Through much of the night, right before I got on the plane to come here, so people have been asking that over and over. How much sound each of these put out at idle and under load, and I've got all that recorded, and I'll be publishing that tonight.
Yeah, and if you haven't ever seen your YouTube channel, I think it's a thing to try as well, right? It just has everything that you possibly want or ask, and anytime that somebody posts a comment saying, okay, but what about this? You always reply. I've seen them, and you're really, really good about leaving no question unanswered.
Thank you. It's getting tough on YouTube to actually keep up with that, but I appreciate that. Someone noticing.
Yeah.
So yeah, we made it to the 10 gig discussion. $600 to $900 right now, unfortunately. Let's move up to a 1 gig switch. Good news there. $130. A Cisco 24 port, unmanaged. Now there's no LECB, nothing fancy here. SG112-24. Right. Bottom dollar. Trying to get to a trade show with a lot of ports, and I don't normally really need this many ports at home. No fan. That's key. Again, HomeLab focus. No fan. Starting point, $134 or something. That got me 24 ports, and I actually filled 22 of them just doing this shop. So that was an easy part. And I also wanted something metal so I could do this demo and kind of stack things up. Finally, we get to the top of the heap here, and it's still kind of the king of the hill. The most versatile by far. 8 drives total. 4 hot swap.
Oh my God.
3.5. You could have 10 terabytes in there, or they could be converted to 2.5. So that's 6 SATA 3 controlled Intel on the motherboard. No S-Media or no SATA 2 crap. No IDE, no sound card. They jettison all the old legacy interfaces. That's part of why it's so low watt burn. The motherboard's simple, basically, really. So that's 6 SATA drives. Now you have 2 PCI options. You have NVMe laying down the motherboard called M.2, the gumstick form factor. I got one running right there. and it doesn't even get all the hot, even with the side and lid off. And then finally, a $20 card by Lycom lets you stand another one up in the PCI slot. Full speed, boot from it, no speed degradation. It's just a pass-through device. So that's 8 drives in less than a cubic foot.
And it looks really cool.
No, and it fits in overhead luggage. I have luggage that fits in a plane, so I've traveled with it many times. So
very, very nice.
That is still the king for noise levels too, because the fan is bigger and it's spinning slower. That's just physics.
Okay.
I've got some ideas and some fans I'm playing around with on the one use, but I'll have to get back to that.
Is this the one that you work with a third-party company to make a bundle and get a discount if you bought exactly this?
Yeah, good point. So Supermicro does some weird decisions on their original packaging. When I got one of the first ones, when it started shipping last summer, they were skipping a 6 SATA cable. So you try to install a drive and you couldn't. It was kind of annoying. They had no speaker. So about a minute after you booted, it didn't beep to prompt you when to hit the key to get into the BIOS. Kind of annoying. And then finally, it didn't have an ESXi-friendly USB key. Oh. Like a little super popular SanDisk, many of which have been sold. So putting it in a bundle meant, how about we put that all in the box, and then Wired Zone in Florida near Miami, burn-in tests all of this for 4 hours, and make sure that your 64 gig RAM, 2 chips, have been tested. You can buy 2 more later and beef yourself up to 128 gig, or you can buy it full from them. So that's the advantage there. Interestingly, their price on memory is quite a bit lower than Amazon and Newegg, so it starts to look weird if you try to put the machine together yourself. You actually end up spending much more. So that is the difference. Supermicro, typically you're not finding it on Amazon or Newegg. You kind of can, but the price is not great. An authorized reseller is a pretty good way to go. Yeah. And the price uplift is minimal. Yeah. The margins are tight on this stuff. The benefit is quite good. Many people are giving me feedback. They're saving hundreds because their memory is so cheap at Wired Zone. And it's Samsung memory. I don't know what's going on with that, but it's been a good few months for their price.
The most important thing is that people don't have to spend the whole hour. I mean, I spent tens of hours reading about all this stuff. Whereas you already have told people, listen, if you want the best HomeLab available and you don't want to do all the things, I have all the information, but I can tell you this is my recommendation, go for this. So people that don't have a lot of time to investigate and don't know where to get it anyways, because they would normally get stuff from Amazon, they now have this option that they'll get something that is, top of the line for a fair price. So in my opinion, a lot of the people that work with HomeLabs, they don't have the time to do all of this analysis. They'll just go off someone else's recommendation.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Testimonial, other people making a comment on a YouTube video or the page where you order this stuff, that is invaluable for people shopping on the fence to find out how many other hundreds of people bought it. Are they happy? Yes. That feedback, the 1 in 2,000 people that take a moment to type up a sentence of feedback, it's invaluable for me and for everyone else reading an article.
And it gives you a lot of energy to keep going, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
It's very cool.
And one more thing behind you I didn't show. Can you just grab that prototype behind that server? And this I can bring a little closer to the camera.
This is beautiful, by the way.
So what you're looking at here is an engineering sample that won't really see the light of day as a shipping product, but the piece that matters here is the ZND1567 that I announced again about 5 hours ago. This is the first time that Supermicro is shipping a 2.1/2.7 gigahertz 12 core, and here it is, you're looking at an engineering sample. This will soon, within a week or so, be a tower, a mini tower. Like I said, it'll look exactly like this. It'll just have the better, improved CPU. You'll still have both available.
And I just love how small it is and all the interfaces.
This crazy engineering sample isn't even painted, right? So, but the point is, it's the CPU I'm talking about. Tests are underway. I've already been looking at it. It's going to go just fine. It's the same VMware, same everything, same chip, same motherboard. It's just a different CPU with more cores on it. So it makes integration testing, meaning the VMware compatibility list for paperwork that Supermicro gets to file, it should be minimal.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Right.
So,
That's very, very awesome.
One last thing. Make sure it's not looking like smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Yep, it's working. I don't know if autofocus is working, but can you see that?
It should work.
Do you see the watts moving around? It's actually a live view of how many watts each machine's burning. And I like that. And it's an $80 Ubiquiti switch. That lets me do that. Here, I'll go ahead and turn off a couple of machines and you'll see their lights go off immediately. Toggling that's kind of sweet. And then behind, I also have a UPS that's been rather popular with a signal cable. $139 gets you a PFC LCD series CyberPower. Goes to an appliance that's hanging out the back of the ESXi host. Loses power for more than 30 seconds, says, hey, ESXi, shut down all your VMs and shut down yourself when you're done. So you're not really looking at a HomeLab, you're looking at
This is
a
the
small
Home DC.
business data center.
Yeah.
You know, it's just kind of funny looking at the show because I have one of each. I'm not expecting anyone to buy this whole rig.
Right.
It's more like take a look at everything I have that I'm showing off today and see what form factor you like. So hopefully that was useful for people.
I gotta tell you, especially because I know that this is mostly out of your own time, this is an amazing thing that you brought over here. We have to thank you.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
Yeah, no, it's
one last thing before we leave. I wanted to make sure that people know how to reach you. So tell them your website, your Twitter, your YouTube. Make sure they have all the ways.
Sure. The easiest way to go to, tinkertry.com, first of all. On the homepage, there's a videos link. So as far as remembering the name of the YouTube channel, you don't need to, just click the video link. Most of my articles have those videos embedded right in them. So the YouTube channel, almost everything there is featured with a full article. And please, read the articles. I almost always have a way too long article that's too many words to go with those videos though, but hopefully they add value to it. And Twitter, it's @Paul Braren. That's B-R-A-R-E-N. It's that simple. Thank you for this opportunity. This is fun.
No, I love it. I've been a fan for years.
Yeah,
so it's great to be able to interview you and share you to the world.
And I couldn't be more proud to have met you in the New York City area and being at the VMug there and living in Connecticut. It's great.
Okay.
Being the friendliest guy around.
All right.
Thanks for doing this.
Thank you so much.